quilt show's pretty good. That's really pretty soothing, right? All right. Okay. My mom is the pageant treasurer. You guys remember her? You know who she is? Okay, well, we're gonna do something cheeky. I need some help though to pass these out. Can I get yeah, I'm gonna pass those out. So we're gonna hand these out. Everybody get up your phone and go to.
If you don't have one, take it.
Yeah, if you don't have a phone, that's fine. Get out your phone, go to YouTube. I'll show you here. I'm gonna go on my screen too. We're just gonna go to YouTube. And then in the search bar on top, you can type in Mary Maple Market. It should have it on that card as well. Mary Maple Market, MERRYMAGEL Market. I got on the screen too if you're following along. And turn the sound down on your phone, but then go to the shorts here, and then click on this first one. If it's on your phone, it's gonna be a little bit different, but it's gonna be a little more or less the same. But we're gonna go there. We're all just gonna watch it. I have the audio up. Someone has audio up. That's okay. Everybody watch it once. We're gonna give them views. Because on YouTube, the way it works is the more you watch something, the more it will be recommended to more people. And then if you haven't yet, you can subscribe to my mom's YouTube channel. Big button right there says subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Turns out on YouTube, you can subscribe for free. And it'll just recommend you more of those. And that's the cheeky thing we're gonna do because my mom is famous. And so that means I'm famous too. Oops. Just on YouTube. Yeah, it's YouTube, and then you just go to Mary Maple Market. You can follow the card that you got, but that was before we're doing just there at the beginning. But let's go back to this now. So everybody got it?
Okay, just let it play. If you start it and stop it, it doesn't count as much. If you just put it down and let it play while you're watching.
Yeah, you don't even need to watch it.
Do that.
Just let it play.
And then you can watch it for real later. Because it's really, she's going to be shocked when she has all these new.
Yeah, she's going to be like, oh my goodness, so many people watched my video. And I got like 4 new subscribers.
So we'll make my sister happy.
And like the video.
And like it. And share it. Show it to other people. Put a comment. Actually, the way to help the YouTube algorithm most is with a comment. All right. So what is the most versatile quilt block? It's kind of, it's a square. Yeah, everyone's like, we know what it is. It's a square. So let's do that. So maybe I'll actually write on my head. All right. So it is a square, and that's what I work in. I make video games, and in video games, the art style is, well, it used to be pixel art a long time ago because of restrictions of the technology. The only art you could do was really simple, basic art. I'm going to show you a little bit of it to you right here. So here's a turtle in pixel art. Let's zoom in a little here. That's a turtle in pixel art. It's just squares. A defining feature of pixel art is you have a very limited palette because, like I said, a long time ago, in order to fit with the technology that they had to use fewer colors, and they couldn't have large images, so they used pixel art. And some of the original pixel art would be as simple as just 2 colors, or even 4. I think the Game Boy had 4 colors, maybe 5 if one of the colors was invisible, if you count that as a color. But the nice thing about pixel art is it does transfer pretty easily to quilts. Let me see if I can find that same one. Right there. And Demi's gonna hold it for me.
Drinking coffee every day didn't work.
This is a pixel art that I did, and this is a quilt that my mom did. She's going all around. Okay. It's let's see, it works pretty well. Oh, and at any time, if you want to ask a question, just throw your hand up and we'll do that. But first, I'm going to show you a little bit of pixel art, and then we'll talk about how the pixel art can translate into quilts. Maybe it's pretty self-explanatory. It is just squares after all. I've made only a couple quilts in my life, like one, and And I didn't actually stitch any separate pieces together. I just had one big old piece and then I quilted it. But even with that, I could make something like this because I know how to, like just watching it, I know how to put squares together. So it's not too hard. It can be, you're good, you can put that. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit of pixel art, some of the work that I've done. Pixel art, although it is simple as far as art goes, it can be very difficult. Here's one of the first ones that, well, not first ones. I did this one about 4 years ago. And just to prove that it does take practice to get good, here's one I did 1 year ago. I redid it because I wanted to see how far I progressed. So there is a dramatic difference in well, obviously in the quality, but also in the time that you put towards something. And that goes for quilting as well. Another difference with pixel art between quilts is pixel arts are going to have a much larger canvas size. We'll go here. So here's one of birds that I did. And the canvas size here is really large. If you were to turn this into a quilt, it would be huge, unless you made the squares really small, of course. But the smaller your squares are, the harder it is to actually quilt. I'll just show off a couple more of these that I've done. This here is called dithering. It's a thing that's only in pixel art, but obviously you can do it in a quilt too. So where you just have two colors, but because of how you pattern it, you can make it appear like there's more colors than there are. Same with here, we got kind of a pink-red color and a yellow color, but this dithering makes it feel like there's another color in between. And that's how you can work with that limited palette. The thing about pixel art is it is limited, but restrictions foster creativity, and that's the power that comes from pixel art. There's another one that I did. I don't know, I kind of like it. It's a rocket ship. This one was based off a picture. I took a picture and I used it as my reference, and I just kind of redrew it in pixel art. Here's a ship with a sea monster. Here's just something really simple. I saw something similar to this. I can't remember where, and I thought I could make that in pixel art, and so I did. Here's one from a video game. If you've ever played Portal. Here's a samurai. And here's one, this is I don't know if it's a famous painting, but I used it as a reference and I kind of, as a study, that's what you call it. And you take an art piece and you redraw it. And here's just a silly one that I made up. Got some rocket boots. Spaceship from Lost in Space, old TV show. Some of you are like, yeah, I've seen that. Here's a king telling a joke. This is the Hobbit from The Hobbit. I used different colors than I normally would. You can see I got some really kind of strange colors in there. I did that as an experiment to see if I could make it a little bit more abstract. Here's a computer. This is an example of using very few colors. I think there's only like 5 colors in this one. You got kind of and it's all monotone as well. So yeah, I don't know if I need to explain that. I think you all know what that is. Those are just some ones I wanted to show off there, kind of show off what pixel art is. One more example of a show off, I guess, is, well, let's look at this. This is a quilt. It's Loki, yeah. I can't, Tom Hiddleston or something, I can't remember his name. Hiddleston, yeah. This is not pixel art. It is a quilt though. I don't know if you can see the details there. This is a quilt, but it is not pixel art. This is just a pixelated image. The resolution of the image has been shrunk, and then they made it into a quilt. That's okay, but technically it isn't pixel art. I'm going to show you the difference now, though. Here's a picture of me and my wife. Make your hearts throb for a bit. This is the location where I proposed to her, and this was taken a couple of days later. You can see she has a ring on her finger. And this is one of her favorite pictures, and I like it too because you can't see my face, but you can see her pretty face. And so for her birthday last year, I really drummed it up because it was true. I was like, you're going to get the best gift ever, and it's all going to be downhill from here. Like, you're never going to get a gift as good as this. And she's like, oh, whatever. But then after I give her the gift, she's like, Yeah, you're right. So I took this image and I didn't do what they did to Tom Hiddleston or whatever his name is. I didn't just shrink the resolution until it became pixelated. I actually turned it into pixel art using a limited palette. Here's the pixel art.
Oh.
And then I went and printed it off and framed it and gave it to her for her birthday. And she's like, yep, you're not gonna be able to top that. So yeah, I'm doomed. I can't get a better gift than that now. Unless I make it into a quilt. There we go. Oh boy. Okay, that's one of the things though. Another thing about the difference between pixel art and quilts is the resolution, although it's really small as far as images go, because it's pixels, it's what was I trying to say? It's the canvas size here. This is a large canvas size. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's over 192 and 108. It's really large. If you were to do that with inch squares, you have 192 across this way. So it's 192 inches. How many feet is that? That's huge. That's gonna be more than king size. And that's working with small squares, just using inch squares. Let me show you one though that's really large. Close out of this. This is the Last Supper quilt. I believe each of these squares is actually 1 inch. You can hardly see it unless we zoom in a whole lot. And you can kind of see some of the details there. I've seen this quilt in real life. I've touched it with my hand. I went to a quilt show in Utah and they had it up on the down a long aisle so people could see it from far away. And everyone would take a picture from it far away because you could see all the details. Then they come up close and it's all just a whole bunch of little fabric squares. This guy used a program to pixelate it, and possibly he took the Leonardo da Vinci painting and did just shrink the resolution, but that's okay because it's one of the methods that you can use to create pixel art and quilt. And I touched it with my bare hand. I wasn't supposed to. I'm supposed to wear a glove, but whoops, I didn't know. Right. She doesn't believe me. Okay, here's a couple other examples of pixel art quilts. This is one that I just found online. I just Googled pixel art quilts. There's lots of things that you can find on there. You can also find lots of just pixel art using. Do any of your kids or grandkids like Minecraft? Minecraft is a video game and they do use pixel art for their art. And a lot of quilts that are made with pixel art aren't just images from video games that they made into a quilt because they know someone likes a video game and they make it in a quilt. But you don't have to do that. That's what we've seen a lot of people only doing that. You don't have to do that, and that's the example with this turtle. My mom called me up and she said, "Hey, I want to make some quilt patterns with some sea animals." Well, initially she asked me about a different one, but I'm going to show you that one later. And so we did that. We did a sea turtle. We did a orca. Here's an orca. I'll put the pixel art up while we're looking at it. And we did a jellyfish as well. Show it to the camera.
I'm getting the light from the projector.
Swap, yeah. One thing to note with pixel art versus quilting, let's go to a different image here. So especially with the turtle, the background here it's easy to tell what's the background and what's the front, right? But in fabric, it was a little bit harder to tell. And I think she has the better one here, but initially she used a color similar to this. Can you grab the turtle one? Show that one again. She initially used a color similar to this. In pixel art, you can tell the difference. But when she did the first draft of her quilt, you couldn't tell the difference between the fins and the background as well. So she used a lighter blue and just adjusted it a little so that it would work for the quilt. Okay, we're going to look at a couple other quilts here. Here's a house quilt. I don't know if any reference was used for that because it's No, it's just a bunch of squares. I think my mom just made it up and did that. Maybe she used a reference, but you can use references as well. A great reference is cross stitch. Here's like a little cross stitch design book. I remember this from when I was little. I think my mom has a copy of it too, but this is Terry's. And it just has a bunch of simple cross stitches in it. If you notice, it is pixel art. There are some differences. Here, you want to show this one right here? This is one of the pencils from inside this book. One of the pencils, it's probably the only pencil. There's the pencil, there's that. One of the difference between pixel art and quilts is pixel art is squares. You are restricted to only using squares. But here we can see that there's some triangles thrown in there. So you have a little bit more freedom with quilts. So even this turtle pattern that I made for my mom, if she wanted to, she could take these spins and make them angle. But it just depends on who you are and what you want to do. You have a bit more freedom with quilts. One of the things that might be hard to do, here's a cross stitch of a butterfly. These little lines you can do in cross stitch, but you can't really do in pixel art. And this one has it too. You can see there's the antenna of the butterfly. Terry just added these in its own square. So you have a little bit more freedom with quilting than you do in pixel art. Another example of the angles is this one that I just found online. I just Googled this really quick and I found this one. You can see that there's some angled pieces here. This one does count as pixel art, except for the angled pieces, but that's okay. Like, quilting is different from pixel art. It can just be used as a great reference to make some awesome quilts. And here's here, let's show this one next. Here's something else that you can do differently in quilts versus pixel art. In this one, we have these longer bands. I don't know if there's any like technical terms for it because I don't actually quilt. But there's these longer bands here where in pixel art it would be individual squares, although they're the same color. You can get away with that. This one looks great. It's easier to get away with it if you have larger squares in your art versus smaller squares. If you were to do that with this one, for example, it might look a little tacky to have those big lines across there. But it depends on the quilt, depends on who you are, if you can pull it off or not. Thanks for showing that one. Then here, we can look at this last one. This one is an example of how, even though in pixel art it looks small, it gets really big really fast. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Here's a bear, and this bear comes from this pattern right here. You can see it, itty bitty teeny tiny right there. But then it gets really huge, and this is, what is this, inch and a half, inch and a quarter squares?
They look like 2-inch.
Cut 2?
Cut 2 inches.
Oh, they're cut 2 inches, and then it gets reduced as you use those, as you do the quilting thing that you do. I know all the technical terms. That quilting thing you do. Then you can put it down. I had one more that I forgot to show you. This one is, I don't know, it's kind of up to debate. Is this actually pixel art or not? Because it looks like it's just an image that was pixelated, but then each square has been decided specifically, maybe with a program. I don't know. It's really cool though. But that's okay. You don't have to match pixel art perfectly when you make it into a quilt. Let's see. There's some more. Oh, those are all the same quilts that I just showed you. Okay, so my mom, the first time I did pixel art for her to make it into a quilt, she still hasn't made it into a quilt. And this is another example of how she's working on it. This is an example of how pixel art has a really small, let's see, where's that turtle again? The very bottom. This one will work, the orca works. Okay, this is the canvas size on this, my microphone. The canvas size on this is 24 by 24. It's not very big, especially in pixel art terms. Put it back. Oh, sorry. You're welcome. All right, so the canvas size for pixel art, it's hard to draw something like that with that small of a canvas size for pixel art. I'm very talented. It actually took several drafts to get this to look right, to make it actually look like an orca. I wish I brought the first drafts, they look awful. But it can take some effort to make, sorry, I keep making me stand up. It can take some effort to go from such a small number of squares and make it look like the image you want it to. Obviously, the more squares you have, the more you can make it look like an image like here. This is a huge canvas size. It's actually kind of moderate for pixel art, but it's a lot easier to create the image that you have because of limitations of squares. So the first one that you can put down, the first one that she asked me to make was actually a Porsche. And here's, oh, that's not it. Here's the finished product in pixel art. I don't have the finished product in the quilt because she's still working on it. This is the canvas size. Well, let me bring it up here actually. I can figure out what the canvas size is. This is the canvas size of 80 by 60, which is still small in the pixel art world. But in the quilt world, it's going to be pretty large. Even if you make these squares smaller, it's still going to be large. And the bad thing is, if you make the square smaller, it becomes more difficult to make into a quilt, just because of how quilting works. That's what they tell me anyway. Jamie, do you have your little pink quilt? Is that just little squares?
Just little squares, it's right over there.
It's over there somewhere, maybe.
They'll grab it and throw it out.
She walked in and she's like, anybody want to look at my cute
Look
quilt
at
that I
my cute
made?
quilt.
This is little teeny tiny squares, half inch. And is that harder to sew together than larger squares? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
This, though, is not pixel art. It's just a pattern. It's around the world, I believe, right? A miniature. But the pattern is around the world miniature. So it's not pixel art because it's just a repeating pattern. And maybe that's up to debate. I mean, art is subjective. One of the other things to note is with this pixel art, I have a lot of colors. You can see all the different colors I'm using up here. Some might say that doesn't count as pixel art, but I was like, I don't care because I'm making this specifically for a certain project. And the reference I used was here. This is the reference. I just took an image of this. I actually traced the outline of this car and then went to color it in. And then I also made a grid so that she could more easily transform it into a pattern. The issue I have though is I can't turn it into a quilt pattern. I can just make the art. And then I hand it over to my mom and my sister, and then they work their magic and turn it into some awesome patterns. And that is, go back here. And that's what they did with these. And in fact, we have these patterns on their website, the orca, the turtle, and the jellyfish too. And the jellyfish, all those are actual patterns. And I think we have a coupon that we're gonna hand out to you. So you can download the patterns for extra cheap. They have them on their website. I'm gonna bring it up.
Turn it.
You don't have to go figure it out yourself. She'll tell you how.
I just wanted not forget.
What? Coupons are pink.
So here is, here's the patterns. Yeah, you can pass those out. Here's the patterns. You can get all these patterns. They're $8 each, or you can buy all three of them for $20. But then if you use the coupon, you get an extra, what is it, like 30% off. So you can save like $10 by getting all three of them. I just wanted to say that because when she starts showing off this turtle one, especially, she'd be like, "Hey, look at this turtle one," and then everyone she's showing it to is like, "I need the pattern. I need it right now." Did you get me? And because it's really nice, it is a nice one. And I was actually surprised because I made the art and I sent it to them, and then they made it, and I was like, "Oh, that does look good." My goodness. So if you want to make a quilt with pixel art, now I'll bring this one up, so that's kind of fancy. If you want to make a quilt with pixel art, you can find lots of pixel art online that you can just steal. You know, there's lots of references that you can use. There's lots of pixel artists that you can hire. You can hire me if you want it. Although, like I said, I can't actually turn it into a pattern. I can just make the pixel art, and then that's up to you if you have the creative ability. It can be expensive though. A lot of pixel artists, it's not cheap to hire any artist, to be honest. It's a thing. But you also have cross stitches. If you want to make some pixel art quilt, you can just find a cross stitch pattern and use that. You don't have to obviously follow it exactly. You can be as flexible as you want with your quilts. Like you don't have to do squares. You can add some triangles. You can add little lines like Terry did.
If anybody's looking for that particular pattern, it's a free pattern on Tilda's World. You can download that for free.
Yeah, when I looked it up.
Tilda's World, that's a freebie.
Free pattern right there. Yes.
Another really good source is
Yes.
further bead
Further bead patterns. Hey, those are the ones where you put it on there and they kind of like melt onto the piece of canvas. Yeah. Perler bead. Perler bead. All right, I can look it up. I think they have a bunch of the perler bead art over on the far wall in the library. Is that right? It's like a Harry Potter poster and stuff made with perler beads. But like I'll show you right here. I'll just Google pixel art, and here's a website called Pixel Art. Go figure. And they have a bunch of pixel art on here. Again, the canvas size can be really large, but you could find something inspiring or useful among the pixel art that they have here. And you can, there's just tons of sources. But the cool thing is that I like the most about it is it's simple. It's like, these are really cool. I'm not gonna miss them. These are really cool, but I couldn't make any of those. I don't know how to quilt, but I feel like I could make this if I really put my heart and soul into it. So it's easy, but it's also hard. You have to, it's kind of like a cross stitch. It takes some effort and some work to actually do it all. But that's what I got. I'm gonna bring up my one of my favorite pieces again, just because it's cool. And then open it up to questions if anybody has questions before we read them. Oh, we didn't show this one? Didn't show the reindeer. There's also this reindeer pattern on the website as well, if you care about that. I don't think there's a coupon on it, but that is up there. But at the same time, if you take a picture, you can probably just make it. It's just a bunch of squares. It's on the YouTube channel too. Question over here? Is my Windows Pixel? The background of this picture? Yes, this is still pixel art. I just have some. It's very monotone. There's just a lot of one color, but it's also part of the image. Any other questions? Over here.
So if we give you a picture, you could make it and how much would it cost?
If you gave me a picture, I could turn it into art, and it would cost a fortune. Just kidding. It depends on the picture. It would really depend on what you want to have transformed into art. I don't have it here, but I had a friend ask me to make a picture of him and his cats into pixel art. I might have given him a discount, but I believe I charged him around $50 to $60. It was a picture of just a close-up of his face holding two cats. The more subjects you have in it, the more it will cost. Like if it's just a single person, it's going to be so much. For example, this one here, this took me many hours to make. It's not super easy. But you
We're
can.
passing them around again.
What's that?
Yeah, I do so.
Oh, that is a good question. Let me, she's like, yes. I asked the best question. Let me get it up here. So
I
here's,
just think that your wife would have noticed that. And
Yeah.
said, what are you doing?
let's open it right away. So, there we go. So here's the original image. You can see I have some stripes in my shirt. You see there's plenty of other details as well. In the pixel art version, I don't have stripes in my shirt. The reason why is because that's really hard to do. It's really hard to represent that with a limited palette and the squares that I have. I maybe could, but it would be a a lot of work. So you end up with just a few colors, like even her face only has 4 or 5 different colors. And my shirt only has 3, I think. You have a shadow, a mid-tone, and a highlight. And so that has to just happen a lot. And I believe in this, unless I grabbed the wrong one. I might have grabbed the wrong one. I think you can see it here if you really look. In the background, I shaded slightly different, and I named some of our favorite songs because we're dancing. You can't really, I know. I wanted to see how long it'd take her, and she picked it up and she was like, "What's that?" Letters. She figured it out pretty fast. But yeah, that's a great question. With Pixar, you have a limited palette, limited colors, so it's in limited size. You can't do much. And I don't know, did I answer your question as far as the price question goes?
His old truck, like on grass.
An old truck? It would depend on what size you need it. It all depends. It's gonna range somewhere between $30 to potentially a couple hundred, depending on what you have in it. And
But you could give them an estimate.
yeah, I could give you an estimate, if you wanted me to do Pixar for you, that same friend that I did the original art for with the cats, he actually just asked me this morning to make him another one, and so I'm like, sure thing, let me figure that out. I don't know how much I'm gonna charge him still. He just wants another cat, so it probably won't be too much, but we'll see. But yeah, if you want to hire me, you can. You can also find a Pixar artist on like Fiverr or other websites, and they're all going to charge differently. It just depends on how skilled they are, what their normal expectations are. And I'm happy to make pixel art for you if you want to make a quilt with pixel art. Again, I can just make the pixel art, and then you have to figure out the quilt side of it. And I'm happy to give you a quote and figure it out based on the image that you provide me or the reference or whatever it is. Again, it's not super cheap, but art never is. Any other questions? Very good.